Okay, well, joining me on the show now is television's number one psychic medium, who is currently on a UK tour and will be appearing in Folkestone this weekend. It is, of course, Derek Acorah. Derek, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Phil. Nice to speak to you again.
Nice to speak to you too. We have spoken before, of course, for another station I work for, which I'm not going to mention. But when we last did an interview, you told me that when you first discovered your ability to see spirit, how old was you?
I was at a tender age of 6.
6? Wow, okay. And was it your granddad you saw?
My grandfather, who passed over 2.25 years before I was actually born. I didn't know anything about him.
Wow. And was anybody else in the family psychic?
Yes, my grandmother before me, my mum's mum.
Right.
And before her, other women going back in the case history of my family.
Yeah.
Trace them back to the 16th century.
Wow.
And, you know, the ironical thing is, my gran said to me at a very young age, "You've broken the mold, son." And I said, "What do you mean, Gran?" She said, "Well, you're the first male in the whole of the family ever to have the gifts. It's always been the ladies."
Wow, okay. And did it scare you at first when you saw your granddad?
Well, it did, yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. It made me freeze on the spot. But not because there confronting me was a spirit person, or as some people call a ghost, because he looks, I could see him.
Yeah.
I could see the clothes he was wearing. I could see his features. I just thought it was an out-and-out stranger in Grand's house.
and did he speak to you, or did you just see him?
No, he spoke to me. He actually, you know, you hear these words about seeing apparitions, like as if the floating.
Sure.
He just come across the room from the doorway where he was.
Wow.
And the next minute, I'm looking above me, and there he is looking down at me.
Wow.
He actually put his hand on my hair. I could feel the impression of his hand.
Okay.
And then he spoke, not a lot, but he told me his name and told me to go down and tell Mum and Grandma that Richard was here and that I'd actually seen him.
Wow.
And, you know, I couldn't wait to bolt down the stairs because he confronted me in one of the bedrooms in Grand's house.
Really? Wow, yeah. That's fantastic. And do you think that all children have this ability?
Absolutely. From birth, it's a birthright.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate that when a lot of children get to a certain age, especially, you know, puberty, the gifts seem to back off.
Yeah.
But there are some, in most cases a lot, who continue to experience apparitions and the like,
sure.
And they're the ones that go on to become mediums.
I remember when I was younger, Derek, we spoke about this before, but when I was younger, I used to see things when I was younger which I just could not explain, and as I got older, that ability just sort of went away. Why is that? Why do we lose that?
Well, basically, they tell me from the spirit side, it's because it's like shifting from the average, in the sense that every child that has it.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear the stories of children with their playmates?
Sure.
You know, so-called playmates that the parents can't see, or brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is because it is the ones who are meant to go on and use the gifts within their life, whether it's going to be vocational, you know, they work full-time, work for spirit, as opposed to people whose life's plan is going to go a different way.
Right.
You know, a person could have gifts in, I don't know, sport, could have gifts in music, could have gifts in anything, craft, anything at all. So those people are not going to have to use the spiritual gifts, so to speak, in the manner in which a medium will have to. So that's basically why that tends to back off.
Wow.
And because, you know, in what we call spiritual guidance, that child is going to be doing something other than spiritual work. Sure.
Obviously, it wasn't meant for me then.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And when did you decide to take it up professionally then?
Well, not till later on. I was actually following a career in football.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And, you know, for a number of years, from a very early age, you know, I was trained, and that's all I ever wanted to be from a little boy.
Right.
That was my dream, my ultimate dream. And fortunate enough, I was good enough to be spotted playing for my school and town team by a number of professional clubs, one being Liverpool Football Club.
Sure, yeah.
And, of course, when they sent representatives over, I just went... you know, in a nice way, crazy. I just couldn't believe it. The only unfortunate thing about it just had to be a football club that Dad didn't support, nor my uncles. They were all Evertonians. And it broke my uncles up even more so than my dad.
Yeah.
so much so, Phil. Myself, my older brother Colin, and Dad used to go to Uncle Tom's hair salon because he was a hairdresser.
Really?
And, every couple of weeks we'd go, 3 weeks we'd go and have our haircut. The moment Uncle Tom found out I'd signed for Liverpool Football Club, he banned me from his salon. I never, ever got a haircut from him. How barbaric is that?
That's not very, very nice, is it, really?
No, my dad had murder with him. My dad said, you can't do this to the boy. And he said, can't I? So Dad fell out with him. Dad didn't think he spoke for years.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. All because of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, your spirit guide, it's Sam, of course. Tell me, where does Sam come from? Tell me more about him.
Okay. Well, Sam, I got to know quite young.
Yeah.
Even my gran mentioned my guide that I'd get to know later on in life when it was time. Sam was an Ethiopian. Actually, in his day, he did exactly what mediums do today, I suppose, in a different way.
Right.
In those days, in the world, wherever, people like ourselves were not called psychics or mediums or psychic mediums. Mm-hmm. They were called seers, or in some cases, oracles.
Right.
And as he was an Ethiopian, he used to walk around villages all over to give them insights of what to expect in the year, the crops and everything.
Yeah.
And he used to feed him. All the elders of the villages had great respect for him. Right. As, of course, my family, I was an Ethiopian boy in that previous life.
Okay.
And I was getting brought up by my Ethiopian family.
Right, okay.
And it was there that I got to know Sam in the previous lifetime. So, basically, bringing the story right to the present day, or up to the time he first made contact with me in this physical life, was actually in my late teenage years.
Wow.
And it took me by shock and surprise because he didn't actually show himself, an apparition like Grandad. I just heard his voice.
Really?
Actually, for the first couple of attempts that he tried it, I thought I was going loco. I thought I was going mad.
Yeah. As you would.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's no wonder people say, when mediums can hear, skeptical minds or cynical minds, or even from a scientific mind, or people who have spirits, they're schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not the case.
Now, when you're doing live stuff, I suppose when you're an actor, which is I've done in the past, you have lines to learn. If you're a comedian, you go on stage and you know the jokes that you're going to do. But in your job, you go on stage and I suppose you've got no idea what's going to happen.
None whatsoever.
No.
It's non-scripted. It's happening spontaneously. It's happening at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
No scripts whatsoever. And this is why, I suppose a lot of people say, decent, good people say, it's such a hard job in the sense that, each night, are we sticking our neck out on the line, so to speak? I suppose we are.
Yeah.
But because we've got radical trust, and because you've done your work for a lot of years, you learn radically to trust that on that given time, or in a private reading, or whatever, when you're conducting spiritual work, you know that the spirits are not going to let you down.
Sure. And speaking of live shows, you are at the moment on tour. I believe you do have a bit of a bad throat at the moment, so won't keep you talking for too long. But you're going to be in Folkestone on Saturday night. What can people expect when coming to see you? Because I saw you live a few years ago, and I have to say you are a proper showman. You really do put on a good show. You're very entertaining. What can people expect when they come to see you?
Well, they're going to expect, I hope, from the word go, when I come out, a nice explosive entrance.
Sure.
Not so much, by an explosion, but my energy.
Right.
And I like to let the people of the audience know that I'm there to work for them. I'm not going to be slouching about or lazy. I'll be up and off that stage, going directly to people, which I do. But not wait for them. So, lots of critics who say, mediums fish and they wait for people. Derek Acorah and Sam do not wait for people.
You don't, no.
We've proven this. We're the only mediums in the world, or medium and guide, doing this. And I'm very glad to say that.
Sure.
I'm proud of it. I do not wait. I won't waste time, the people's time or the spirit people. We've only got so many hours.
Sure.
So I get in as many connections as possible. And you know what? When I come close to people, Phil, I see an easement in them. If a medium stays up on the stage a distance away and what have you, people have a tendency to be a little bit reluctant to speak.
Yeah.
But if you go down to them and show that you're gentle, you're a human being, you are grounded, you're down to earth, and also it's a theatre, and people who don't get readings, they enjoy the involvement because of the big screens there. They'll see the people I'm speaking to in the audience. And I just bob and weave from one person to the next. And, I'd like to think by the end of it, just like last evening in another town, you get the feedback afterwards, and an awful lot of people who've never been say, wow, didn't expect that. Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
When you're coming back, you definitely come up because we're going to be here. We'll bring our friends. So that is a lovely feedback. So
Brilliant.
That's telling me that I am working hard.
Cool. And after seeing one of your shows, I totally agree with that, because you are all over the place, aren't you? All over the auditorium, speaking to different people. It's fantastic, and we'll be coming to see you in Folkestone on Saturday. You've been to Folkestone a few times before, so how do we usually treat you? Do we treat you nicely?
You absolutely, Folkestone. Always look forward to. I don't do enough for Folkestone.
Yeah.
Each time that I've done Folkestone, I've been so well. Lovingly received, and the audience are always buoyant.
That's
and
good.
They're up for it, and they want it. So Derek Acorah tries to deliver it.
Brilliant. And what do you say to people who dismiss what you do?
Well, I say, look, it's a healthy mind. It's a big world, and we can all think in different ways.
Yeah.
It's a healthy thing to be that way. However, if you are of that way of thinking, that's okay. If you came along to a show like mine, it doesn't have to be with Derek Acorah and Sam. It could be with any other registered medium that is known.
Yeah.
If you come along, you could be pleasantly shocked and pleasantly surprised.
Sure.
It happened last evening. It happened the night before, where I had two gentlemen the night before and one gentleman in last night's show who openly said to me in the foyer when I was doing signings and having photographs and talking to people after the show, which I always do, openly, very honestly told me, one of the two said, I just did not want to come along here, Mr. Acorah. My wife really badgered me to come here.
Right.
And he's saying this in front of a queue of people. And he said, but however, you didn't come to me. But you know what? Along the way there, one of my neighbours was there. And everything you told him with his wife, I know that to be true.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been speaking to him. He said, put it there, put his hand out, shook my hand, big man that he was. And he said, you're sending me out of here thinking a different way.
Sure. That's
now,
good.
The one last night, he said to me, I did want to come, and then I didn't. At the last moment, I paid the ticket with my wife and my daughter, and I decided, well, why waste the ticket?
Yeah.
So I come along. But I actually went to him.
That's good.
In the show, and he said, you've just blown me away. You've gobsmacked me.
Yeah.
To tell me about my young brother who passed over. He said I was only 4, and he was only a 1-year-old boy.
Wow.
To say that how he passed over in an accident, and then tell me about mum and dad that were with him over there. No one knows that information.
Sure.
You've got to be real.
Yeah. And do you have any comments about the stories in the papers a few weeks ago about psychic Sally Morgan, who was apparently using like an earpiece to get information from the back of the room? Apparently, did you hear about this? It was in the papers.
I did actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any comments about that?
I've spoken to a number of mediums within the work across the country.
Right.
And it seems that from what these other people are saying, and it's even not even my opinion, it's what they've been saying, okay, is that she was caught red-handed. Now, if that's the case, Miss Morgan should really move away from the work in that sense.
Sure.
If it has been proven. If it hasn't been proven, do we always believe what we read about in papers? Look what's been said about me.
Yeah.
And, and things like that. I don't know personally. I haven't got the evidence that Sally Morgan actually did this.
Sure.
But someone actually sent me a clipping over it. I'm not sure whether it was YouTube or what have you. And it shows you her coming into a dressing room.
Right.
And the first thing she's doing on camera is unleashing, taking this earpiece out of her earring.
Yeah.
And then she's got the microphone. Now, if that was an earpiece, despicable. It's terrible. It's not good. And any medium, whether it be Sally Morgan, if they've been caught red-handed that way, they should move away from the work forthwith and go and do something else.
Wow. Okay. But you just never know, do you? Really? I suppose.
No.
You haven't got the proof.
I mean,
there.
I don't even know Sally Morgan personally.
Yeah.
Only ever met the lady once. She seemed to come across as being a delightful person. But you know what? You hear, I suppose, different stories, but do you believe all the stories that you hear, Phil?
Yeah, sure. Just had a question come in. Sorry, Derek. How can we wake up the possibility of a medium within ourselves? Is that possible?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remember, I said a lot of people who it backs off when they get to a certain age. But if a person wants to explore that avenue, that maybe it's not set out for them, it still doesn't mean to say they can't explore and get to know a lot more than what they would normally do. In other words, they could develop to a certain level where they could, in actual fact, gain a connection. Firstly, get to know their guide, their spirit guide.
Right, okay.
And secondly, moreover, have personal connections with their family members that have passed over before them. And that's as far as what they probably could achieve. But so a lot of people, that's worthwhile, and a lot of people have done that.
Sure. Okay, so it's never too late, really?
It's never too late.
That's good. Derek, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I love talking to you. You're absolutely fantastic. We'll be coming along to the show on Saturday at the Lees Cliff Hall. Before you go, do you have any more TV work planned?
Well, at this moment in time, we've got nothing, concrete and official.
Sure.
But, I've got a television idea and program that's being looked at in America at the moment.
Oh, right.
The network's there.
Good, excellent.
And I'm hoping that another thing that I've actually approached one of my old ex-bosses who was at Living TV, Richard Wolf. He's also looking at something with me, and I'm just ever so hopeful. Sam tells me that, you know what, and I count on Sam, he doesn't tell me fibs. He said, you will come back on television again soon.
You will. I'm sure you will. Derek, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Derek Acorah, the True Vision Tour takes place this coming Saturday at the Lees Cliff Hall in Folkestone. Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully talk to you again soon. And who knows, I'll get to meet you when you're in Folkestone as well.
I look forward to seeing you, Phil.
I'll come and say hello.
Yes, please.
And give my regards to Sam as well.
He can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Derek,
Phil.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.